Hi guys, and welcome to another Divi Theme video. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Well, we've had a few questions recently about hover effects on your menu, so I've got a couple for you today. We've got one here. When we hover over, background color is going to change and the link color is also going to change. And we've also done another one. On this one, the whole sort of menu is going to change color and turn to white when we hover over these little links here. We've got to do a bit of CSS coding for this today, but don't let that put you off. Any code I write I'll put down below the video and you're welcome to use it as needed. Okay, to do this today we've got to write some custom CSS. To get your custom CSS, go down to your dashboard. Once on your dashboard, go down to Appearance and then Customize. That's going to bring us to this page here. Right at the bottom you're going to find additional CSS where we're going to write our custom code. Now here's the code I've written for that. I'm simply going to delete it and we'll start from scratch. I'm going to take this code and just simply delete it. Okay, we've still got our hover effect right now, but as soon as I publish that's going to change. So I'm going to go up to the top of the page. I'm going to push all this code down out of the way so it doesn't confuse us. We've got a blank screen to deal with. Great, and we'll start from scratch. Now I'm going to do a quick refresh to clear everything out. Okay, we'll go back to our additional CSS panel. Now there's no hover effect on this. This is just a regular Divi menu up here. We're using the default menu. Okay, always a good idea to give your CSS a title. That way it's easier to find if you write a lot of CSS. For a title it's /*/. Anything written between the stars will not be read as code. So let's say menu effect. Call it what you want. Wants to make sense to you. Okay, I'm using Google Chrome here with the great inspector tools. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on one of these links here, hit inspect. That'll bring up our inspector down the bottom here. If your browser doesn't have this, most do nowadays, Google Chrome is a free download if you want to use it. I'm going to take responsive mode off so we can see a full page here. And once the inspector pops up, if you've got styles selected one side, you've got CSS. If you've got elements selected the other side, you've got HTML. Great. Well, let's have a look at one of our links here. This is an anchor tag or a link, so if I click next to it, I wouldn't click on it because it'll take you to the link itself. Once you hover over things, you start seeing them highlight up the top there. When I hover over things, you'll see things highlight up there. And if we hover over this ET top navigation, you can see the green and blue up the top there. The green is actually padding. So we need to get rid of that padding at the top to create our effect today. So what I'm going to do is double click on the ET top navigation there. I'm going to copy it. Control C to copy, or right click and copy. It's an ID. So all IDs have to have a hashtag in front of them. So we'll put hashtag, then we'll paste the actual ID name itself. And I want to get rid of any padding at the top. So we're going to open some curly brackets, and inside I'm simply going to say padding top 0. And that's probably not changed anything because we've got to overwrite the default styles. Yeah, it's still there. So we've got to use important. I don't like to use important, but sometimes you have to enforce things. So I'm going to say exclamation mark important. And as you can see, things have changed up here. There's no padding on the top of here now. So let's pop a semicolon in there. And we've got that little bit done. Okay, well we want to bring it down to the right size because we want our background to cover the whole of this area here. Had we not taken the padding away from the top there, it would have just covered half of our little menu there. So let's have another look down here. And if we roll over the anchor tag and click on it, we've got padding bottom of 35 pixels. So I'm going to put padding top 35 pixels as well. That'll place this back in the middle and bring our menu back down to the same size as it was. So I'm going to grab top menu and then I'm going to add the A for the anchor tag. So again, I'm just going to double click on there, Control C to copy or right click and copy. Again, this is an ID, so let's put a hashtag in front of it. then the name. I want to affect the anchor tag, so that's an A after it. We'll open and close some more curly brackets here. And we want to say padding top 35 pixels. And as you can see, as I did that, it popped that 35 in on the top. That's great. Well, now we can start targeting a few things. We want the changes to occur when we're actually hovering over these items here. So I'm going to copy this whole ID right here, including the anchor tag, Control C to copy. I'm going to drop down, I'm going to paste it in down below. Right after the A with no gap, I'm going to put a colon and another no gap and the word hover. Don't put any gaps in there or it won't work. Now we can set a hover state for what we want to happen when that mouse actually hovers over. So we'll open some more curly brackets here. And I want to perhaps use the blue of my background here. I've got a free Chrome color picker, so let's get this color. Again, I'm just going to copy it. And when we hover over it, I'm going to say background, colon. I'm going to put in that hex color. Hex colors have a hashtag in front also. And there it is. Put my semicolon on the end. The reason we put a semicolon on the end, if you don't do that, it won't read the next line of code within the brackets there. Okay, so now when we hover over, we've got that sort of blue, but that's a kind of light blue. Doesn't look like it's full opacity. It's a bit dull looking. So let's make sure it's got the right opacity. And we're going to say opacity 1. Opacity goes from 0 to 1 and 0.1, 0.2, etc. for different variations on it. 1 is fully visible. It's still a bit dull, so it looks like we've got to enforce it. Let's grab our little important up here and the semicolon there. Control C. We'll pop it after. That's better. We've got our full blue right there. Okay, well I see that actual link itself is touching the sides there. I'd like to have a bit of space either side. So we've added padding to the top of our navigation. Let's add some left and right. Here's the padding top. So what we can actually do, I can take that padding and just do a general padding instead of top, left, bottom and right. If I put my cursor there and take that just back to regular padding, 35 is going to give it 35 pixels all around, top, right, bottom and left. If I add 10 pixels, it's going to do 35 top and bottom and 10 pixels left and right, which drags it in a little bit, which is great. But there's a bit of space between those that I could probably get rid of a lot of that space. And also I want my links to be a nice bright white colour. So top menu A is our links right there. And we're working in the hover state. So I'm going to say colour white, which is hashtag FFF in hexadecimal. Great. We got our nice coloured links there. That's changing coloured nicely. I'd like to reduce the gap between them. So let's see where that is. If I go down here, there's our whole untitled list there. There's a list item. There's the padding. You can see it, the green on the right there. So if I just click on one of these, it'll take us to that one. It's top menu list item. There's the padding right 22 pixels. I'm going to take this whole thing from the hashtag to the ending curly bracket. I'm going to copy it, Control C. I'm going to drop down over here. I'm going to get rid of anything that we didn't write, which is display inline block and font size 14. And I'm going to change the padding right to a 0. I don't want any padding on the right there. And because we're overriding the styles, you can see those have jumped in again already. That's working fine. I'm going to leave that just like that. Okay, well let's publish our changes and make sure we've got our new hover effect working. Let's go to a page here. I want to refresh this before I publish my changes. And you'll see there's no hover effect. Let's go ahead and publish our changes now. And refresh this page. And there we go. We've got our first link effect for you right there. Fantastic. And don't forget this code, I'll put it down below in the video description. You can copy it and paste it, use it how you wish, change your colours to whatever suits you. So let's take a look at our next one now. And this one, we've actually got the whole nav bar there changing colour. And when we hover over one of the links, it's going to highlight to the white. So let's go back to our customizer now. And what I'll do is I'll comment this out so it's not actually there. So it's not being read as code. And as I mentioned earlier, to comment something out, just simply wrap it in some comment tags, which is /*. And then at the end of the bit you want to comment out, it's */. And that code will not be working now. So we're back to normal. Okay, again we want to inspect this and find what we need to do. And I think if we go up top nav, that padding's back. So we want to get rid of that padding unless you just want that bit highlighted down there. So what we can do, we can steal a bit of code from up here just to save a bit of time. Take that padding off up here. And I'm simply going to paste it in down here. And that's taken that away again. And again, we want to put our padding back on the top, or at least make it 35 pixel round. And I think I'll keep that 10 pixels there. So we can steal a bit of it up here. Top menu A is our little anchor tag right there. So I'm going to grab that. And we'll paste this just down below. That's giving it space all around there. And again, we've got too much space in between. So again, we can just steal this bit of code that we wrote to get rid of that padding. So I'm going to paste that down there. There we go. That's the shape we want it. But if we look down here, there's still a huge green bit on the left-hand side. And I just want to have a little bit of padding each side of that. So if we click on this, there's the padding left 200 pixels. So I want to change that to about 10 pixels. And that's our ET top navigation. We've got that up here. So let's just say padding left, :0. And I'm not sure if that would have done it for us. No, it's still there. So we've got to add important to that too. So let's just grab that one above there. Look now. There we go. That's the size and kind of shape that I want it. So all we need to do now is change our background cover on hover. Now at the moment we want to make sure, I'm going to use a filter on this to make it the opposites. We want to make sure that background's white because I'm going to change it to black. Obviously you can put down any color you want. So I'm going to say background white with this. So let's add background white, which is FFF. And that way we can flip it from black to white with a filter. Okay, we've got everything we want it. Let's actually make the hover effect for it now. So I'm going to copy this class name. I'm going to drop down just below it. And just as we did before, we're going to create a hover state by putting a colon on the end with no gap, and then the word hover with no gap. Then we can open and close some curly brackets. And I'm going to say background black, or whatever color you want. And then I'm going to say filter invert, and that's going to change the white to a black, or it would change a blue to a yellow probably. It's going to change it to the opposite of whatever that color was. So I'm going to say filter. We want it to invert, and we want it to invert 100%. So we open some round brackets with no gap there after the invert and put in 100%. And we'll pop a little semicolon on the back. And as you can see, that whole thing is now turning black. But our little links there, again, they're a little dull. I want to make sure they're a nice bright white colour when we hover over them. So we've got our top menu anchor tags there, which is what those are. We'll just set a hover state for those. So I'll copy that and we'll drop down again. I'm just going to say colour white, which again is FFF. Okay, it hasn't happened, so let's force it. We need to make that a hover state. So again, colon, and the word hover. Now let's check that out now. It's actually turned it black because we've got the filter on and we've asked it to turn it white. Now the filter's, it's turned it white, but the filter has done the opposite, which has made it go black. So what we can do instead of white, if we actually say black, that'll make that white this time. Black is 0, 0, 0. There we go. And the opacity is still a bit down. So I'm going to say opacity. Again, 1. See if it's going to work. No, we need to force it. There we go, and we've got a nice bright white for the one that we're hovering over there. Okay, well let's get rid of our inspector now. We'll publish our changes. I'll get rid of that. Let's just refresh our page here. And there it is. Now for this particular version you may not want this. The other one's not so important, but this one you may not want this on your mobile menus because it may change it up because we changed the gaps and the heights and things like this. So what we can do is add what they call a media query. And to show you what I'm talking about, let's bring up my inspect again. And I'll take this to responsive so it's on a tablet. Let's make it decent size so you can see it. Now there's our little mobile drop down there, and that's not going to work with our new colouring here. So what we can do is tell this that we only want to apply that effect when it's over a certain size, which I think for Divi is 980. If I change this to actually responsive and drag this, when it gets over to about 980, you'll see the hamburger disappear and the regular menu come back in. There it is. So really, I want to stop it doing it anywhere under 980. So to do that, we can put a media query in. Let's get rid of this. And we'll add a media query to our code here. So I'll put this at the top. Because a media query, we've got to wrap this whole code in some more curly brackets here. So I'm going to say at media screen and open some round brackets here. Now we've got to tell it the size that we want it to display. So I'm going to say anything with a min width, over let's say 980 was what we decided on, 980 pics. What do we want it to do? So basically that's saying if there's a screen that's any smaller than 980 pics, this will not apply. So let's open some curly brackets here. There's the top one. I've got to take that second one away there, just delete it. And we've got to wrap all the code in it. So we've got an opening curly bracket there, and we've got to go to the end of our code, drop down one, and put a closing curly bracket in there. If you've got a media query, you always want to make sure it's ending with 2 there. So we've wrapped everything in there. So now, if we publish this, and we'll go back to our page here, and refresh it one more time. Still got our little hover effect going on there. Let's have a look at it on the tablet again. Let's change this to iPad or something like that. iPad, there we go. There's our little drop down. Let's make it a bit bigger so you can see it better. That way we've got our regular menu here. And of course you can do a whole different menu after that media query if you want to. But that way, if it doesn't work on your tablet and mobile, you can just do your media query to sort it out. So there you go guys, there's 2 different versions of a couple of menu hover effects for you. I hope you've enjoyed this today and found it useful. And don't forget, any code that I've written today I'll put down below the video, and you're welcome to copy, paste, and use it as you wish. Once again, this has been Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.